I'm curious especially for our listeners that might be new to edibles, or maybe they smoked weed in high school, but now there are so many different options for consuming. And I think what's really great is the ability to see the dosage and understand the dosage before you take the gummy. And I'm curious as to how you get to a 5 milligram gummy versus a 20 milligram gummy or 100 milligram gummy using live rosin. How does that, just for simple terms, how do you have one versus the other?
As far as
dosage,
calculating dosage.
Calculating the dosage.
Yes. So at the end of the day, it does come down to simple math that we all probably learned in the 4th grade. So basic conversions from gram to milligram, and then it's so important. The most important thing you need to know is what is the potency of the oil that you're infusing with, or the flower that you're using to infuse with.
Gotcha.
So potency determines the actual percentage of THC in milligram form in that infusion. And so understanding that first step, then knowing what your yield is of the product that you're going to infuse. So I'm going to get 500 gummies out of this recipe, then can determine how much I'm going to infuse into the full batch. So really it comes down to math. And I never liked math when I was younger, but I love it when it's cannabis math.
Sure. Can of math. That's
Can of
amazing.
math.
If you have 2 oranges and 3 apples, and that's definitely not as fun as the alternative. Can you share one of your favorite cannabis infused recipes? What makes it special?
Can I have 2?
Yes.
Okay.
You may.
My first one is a cannabis infused chimichurri. So It's a fresh herb condiment that I typically use cilantro, parsley, chives, and then even some fresh cannabis leaves if I have it available. And the fresh leaves are going to be full of THCA, so it won't be as psychoactive as your typical Delta-9 THC. So that's amazing. And then it will lend some like earthy flavors to the chimichurri as well. But it's such a simple recipe: garlic, lemon, and then an oil base, because THC, CBD, the cannabinoids are all fat soluble. So they love to bind with fat. So infusing the olive oil and then adding all those fresh herbs, blend it together, put it on grilled chicken, salmon,
or a fillet.
steak,
Oh, that
fillet
sounds amazing.
It pairs so well, and it's so bright. And I love vibrant color in my dishes. So that would be my first go-to. I make that every week.
Can I come over?
I make it all the time.
Dinner at Teresa's.
Yeah.
Yes. And then second, I would have to say, is from last year's Sunday supper, which was a very special one on Father's Day. And it was Papa's pot roast with an infused whiskey glaze.
It was amazing.
Glazed carrots, potato puree. Just such a comforting dish. And that menu was really inspired by my own father. And having, my mom always having something in the crock pot when we were kids growing up. And that dish just kind of reminds me of that nice homey feeling. And I still have people who came to that dinner who are just like, can't stop thinking about that dish.
Sounds like we need to bring that back.
Yes.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was definitely a highlight for me. I have to say that I love it when you juice fresh cannabis leaves. It's one of my favorite things that you do. It's quite delicious.
Yes, the fresh THCA juice and the euphoric feeling that you get from THCA is really nice. It's definitely different than a Delta-9 high, but there is still a psychoactive change there, and it's the anti-inflammatory properties of THCA are incredible.
Yeah, that seems like it would be great for like athletic recovery, like post yoga. Let's juice some cannabis leaves and hydrate. Yeah, that's perfect. There's a thought for another event with you.
It is.
How do you educate your customers about responsible consumption of cannabis infused food? So, I would imagine when someone looks to hire you to do their meal, what is a typical conversation engagement about what they're looking for in general?
So most of the time, I like to know the starting point for them. Are they a daily user? Are they brand new? And then we can really dial in where their sweet spot of their dosage is. So if they're brand new to cannabis and they're coming to a dinner, I'm going to definitely recommend something around 2.5 milligrams, nothing higher. And that would be the same thing with a gummy product. They could easily cut the 10 milligram gummy into fours and start with that 2.5 dose. So always low and slow. You can never take away, but you can always add more. So that's something that I always want to focus on. I don't want anybody to have a negative experience because that may make them jaded for any future progression with the plant.
Yeah. It's very true.
So really understanding where they're at on their cannabis journey and what familiarity they have with other cannabinoids like CBD, CBC, CBN, because that will always be part of the menu as well. So even if they didn't want to consume any Delta-9 THC, we could always just have those other cannabinoids as their journey as well. So definitely very important to know where their starting point is.
Yeah, I like that you give those options for people that don't necessarily want to have the psychoactive experience, but can benefit from the other types of cannabinoids and their unique roles in the experience.
It seems like many people know either THC or CBD.
That's it.
And that's pretty much it.